really sorry about that. Let's try this again. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm gonna wait for a second for everybody to jump on live. I have no idea what happened. It just kicked me off Facebook Live. So I have to start from the top because we record these and upload them on our YouTube channel. So I'm really sorry about that, you guys. So if you already heard me do the first 2 slides, do something else and wait till I catch up. So welcome to our monthly educational series in Essential Oil Solutions, how to support the body through an autoimmune disorder. My name is Eliza Bacote. I'm a nurse practitioner and certified wellness practitioner. So we took a survey a couple of months back about the topics that you guys would like to hear, and autoimmune was such a big one. And so while it's a very, very complicated subject, we felt it very important for us to dive into that. So what I have really tried to do here is make a very complicated subject, sort of simplify it. And really my goal is to give you guys some solutions for yourself and for those that are suffering around you. With autoimmune diseases, know how to support the body through that and help the body heal itself, because I'm a very firm believer that the body is amazing and it is great at healing itself. So if you guys are on live and you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up, say hi, something like that, just so I know you can see my screen. Sorry, I'm not sure exactly what happened before, so I apologize about that. So just say hi, let me know you're here. So we are going to be diving into 4 weeks of education. This is our topic outline, and just know this, there's over 100 autoimmune diseases, so it was really difficult for me to try and break this down into the top ones, but that's what I tried to do. So like I was saying before, if you have something that affected you or has affected you, please let me know if you don't see it on this list. So in this very first week, we're going to be doing the important thing of building the foundation of what an autoimmune disease is and giving you an overview. Week 2, we're going to be talking about supporting systemic and skin autoimmune diseases. That includes SLE or lupus, mixed connective tissue disease, or MCTD is what we call it, arthritis, 2 different forms of autoimmune arthritis, rheumatoid and psoriatic. The thyroid, and a lot of people say to me, well, Liza, the thyroid is its own organ, that's not systemic. And I say, nope, not true, because the thyroid is the only hormone in the body that actually affects every single organ in the body. So if you have a thyroid disease, autoimmune disease, you have a systemic disease. So we'll be talking about Hashimoto's and Graves, and then with the skin disorders, psoriasis and eczema. But just know this, if you have a systemic autoimmune disorder that is a skin disorder that may not be as common as like psoriasis or eczema, just know that the protocols that we're going to be talking about to support your body through that are really going to overlap into other skin autoimmune disorders. And then week 3, we've seen so much of this in healthcare, unfortunately, the rising rates of gut disturbance and gut autoimmune diseases. So we've dedicated a week to that. Irritable bowel disease, which includes irritable bowel syndrome. Sorry, I left the E off the syndrome. I'll fix that. Ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, and celiac disease. And then this was tough because it could have been a different topic, but I felt it very important to really talk about in week 4 how to support neurological autoimmune diseases, because these can be so debilitating, and we really treat them and support the body in a very, very different way than we do other autoimmune diseases. So Guillain-Barré, myasthenia gravis, and multiple sclerosis are just a few. Those are not all of them. There are many more, but I'm going to be giving you guys some ideas and protocols on how to really support the body through that process. So let's just start with the foundation of what the heck is an autoimmune disease. So in a normal immune response, say we have an invader like a virus or a bacteria, some sort of pathogen that enters the body, and our immune cells called lymphocytes, and that's a simplification because we have multiple different types of immune cells in the body, but lymphocytes are primarily responsible for creating antibodies to fight invaders. Antibodies are made up of proteins. Viruses, bacteria are made up of proteins. Different different types of skin in our body are made up of proteins, right? And so typically the immune system will recognize that foreign invader as foreign, and it will start to develop antibodies to attack that foreign invader. Now, what happens is in an autoimmune disease is really a case of mistaken identity. The immune system starts to create antibodies that attack your own cells. And again, this can happen for many reasons. We're going to talk about why that actually happens. But again, I said there's over 100 different types of autoimmune diseases. Some only affect one organ, like when we see in the skin, but they have to do with other organs. And some affect multiple or create systemic problems, such as in lupus. It can affect multiple organs. Sometimes we see lupus affecting the skin and the kidneys. And it affects more than 23.5 million Americans today. And the suspected number is actually 50 million, because we suspect that a lot of people out there are actually undiagnosed, that are having problems, people with irritable bowel problems, but they just are sort of quote unquote living with it. And same thing, lots of skin disorders that people are leaving untreated, undiagnosed. So that's what an autoimmune disease is. So let's talk about the incidence in our society and the absolutely incredible, undeniable rising rates of autoimmune disorders, especially in our culture here in America. And you guys, this graph is a perfect display. Some of these autoimmune disorders, we're seeing a 400% increase in the incidence of autoimmune disorders. There is something fundamentally different that we have done in our environment in the last 50 years that is causing a complete and utter health emergency in our country. It's actually, of course, contributing to the rising cost of healthcare, right? Women are more likely to be affected than men. 1 in 12 Americans in their lifetime will actually develop an autoimmune disorder of some sort. And prior to the 1950s, you guys, there were only 4 documented cases of autoimmune disorders in the medical literature. So what is happening here, and what can we do to sort of stop this epidemic of autoimmune diseases in our society? So let's just talk about the cause. I'm a big fan of this book. And Donna Jackson Nakazawa, she's actually a physician who wrote this book, and Dr. Douglas Kerr, who studies autoimmune diseases. And so we're going to talk about the causes. A lot of times you'll hear some myths and untruths about the causes, but there's becoming more and more of a united front and agreement about what is causing the autoimmune epidemic. And I love this quote by Dr. Douglas Kerr from Johns Hopkins. There's almost a universal agreement among scientists and physicians that the environmental toxins and chemicals to which we're increasingly exposed are interfering with the immune system's ability to distinguish self from non-self. For those of you guys that know me on this video, you know that I am an absolute, maybe obsessive compulsive is a good word, person about environmental toxins, about the things that we clean with. It's one of the things that I do in my wellness business is in-home detox consultations to help people really detoxify their environment and the things that they're exposed to. We think it's not a big deal, but that cumulative effect of exposure to toxins in our body and around us is causing this problem. And they are also the reason why we're seeing the rising incidence of cancer as well. In a 2000 study, researchers found 287 industrial chemicals, including pesticides, phthalates. Phthalates is what you find in a lot of your personal care products, especially us women. Women have almost the double, triple exposure that men do. Not surprising that women are more likely to develop an autoimmune disease, right? Dioxins, flame retardants, and the breakdown of chemicals of Teflon, right? So even your cookware matters, in the fetal cord blood of 10 newborn infants from around the country, transmitted to the infants by their mother's exposures before and during pregnancy. So what's unfortunate is that while we're being exposed as adults, guess what? Our unborn children are also being exposed to whatever we're exposed to. So in the most sort of vulnerable of state that they're in the womb, they're already being exposed to chemicals. And that's just so unfortunate. And what that's really going to take is us educating ourselves, simplifying our lives about toxins. And as you guys know, that's a big part of what we do here in Essential Oil Solutions. It's why we love some of the essential oils and the natural products that we use. So what causes an autoimmune disease, and how do you protect yourself? And then for those of you guys that are already suffering from an autoimmune disease, how can you sort of detoxify your body and your life? So environmental toxins are at the top of the list. Environmental toxins include pesticides, cookware, personal care products, cleaning products. This is why you see us talk about this constantly about detoxifying your environment. It's why we talk about use On Guard Cleaner Concentrate to clean, use On Guard laundry detergent to wash your clothes, use On Guard hand soap to wash your hands and your children's hands. It's why we recommend all of those doTERRA products that are non-toxic, because doTERRA is committed to making sure that they don't put any harmful chemicals in them. Sterile environments is also being implicated in some research as a trigger for autoimmune disease. So what does that mean? Unfortunately, I had a friend the other day who was suffering from a problem in her home, and she was telling me they were doing bleach baths. And I just cringed because rubbing bleach or giving yourself a bleach bath, which used to be very popular decades ago, to cleanse the skin of bacteria, and we're cleansing and killing the skin of healthy bacteria. So when you over sterilize your house with lots of these harsh chemicals and bleach, we're actually removing a lot of the good bacteria that provide a balance for us. So we don't want an overly sterile environment. Viral illness can actually be a trigger. We see this a lot in the neurological autoimmune diseases. The typical Western diet, processed, high sugar, refined foods. You guys, a lot of people think that's, well, they're like, well, I don't eat Twinkies. If you're eating a lot of canola oil, which is in a lot of refined foods, a lot of packaged foods, that is a highly refined inflammatory oil. So things like this very processed, high sugar, refined diet, we know is an inflammatory trigger and associated with autoimmune diseases. Certain gut bacteria can trigger autoimmune diseases. So we've started doing GI mapping in the Organic South. So that's a test that I provide now for people to look at the microbiome and the gut of their intestinal system, the gut bacteria. And there's a whole list of about 5 to 7 different types of bacteria that when they're high in the gut actually are a trigger for rheumatoid arthritis. And we see that correlation. And what's interesting is if we can get in there and kill those pathogens earlier while restoring the good pathogens, then we know that we can stop that process of rheumatoid arthritis developing. And again, those gut bacteria grow out of control when we're not putting good fermented food in our body, when we don't have enough healthy probiotics. Weight plus smoking is also a trigger. And then while a lot of people or a lot of the medical society will tell you that genetics is the #1 reason why people develop autoimmune disease, it's actually very uncommon. But there are some genetics that contribute to development of autoimmune disease, and we see them that run in families. But oftentimes, what we really think is that families exposed to the same environment over and over, so it's very difficult to tease out. Okay, so that is our foundation of overview of autoimmune diseases. Coming up next week, we're going to be talking about supporting systemic and skin autoimmune diseases. So don't forget to join in and go ahead and post any questions, comments, thoughts, or hey, Eliza, what about this for next week? If you don't see it here listed in the comment section on this live, that way I can make sure and include it. So I look forward to helping you guys. I'm very, very excited about this month. Even though I know it's a very deep and in-depth topic, I'm really, really looking forward to it because I know many of you are suffering, and that was really in the top 5 of our poll when you guys said you needed help with this. So we're excited to help you guys. Thank you so much, and just let us know what else you guys want to hear about. Take care.
Hi.